Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast with Ron and Kristin, where leadership meets entertainment. This podcast features stories with names and certain aspects that have been changed to keep submissions private. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Dirty Side of Leadership podcast, where leadership meets entertainment. I'm Kristin, and as always, joined by my amazing co-host, Ron Ward, best-selling author of the Dirty Side of Leadership book. Just in case anyone's wondering, what's the namesake for the podcast? There you have it. Ron breaks down 100 dirty lessons, and we focus on that a lot throughout our podcast episodes. We break down lessons here live, and you get to hear from the man himself who lived it. Ron, welcome.
Hi,
to
Kristin.
your own podcast.
You know, I always write my own intros while Kristin isn't looking, and you missed a part of. I didn't mention the book itself, but look at the script.
I have nothing in front of me, actually, except for the
you were
Saboteur.
just going on the fly?
That was straight up from Mem.
I'm so impressed.
That's, hosting my own show for 2 years. I have some of that in my pocket that I can pull out. But literally, I'm just, I don't want to say freeballing it. What's a
You're
PC
freeballing it. I like it.
Yeah, just going off without a script here. We don't have, we have some talking points we're going to go over. Ron put this episode together. I'm really excited about it. We're breaking down Saboteurs. Tell us a little bit about that, Ron.
Yeah,
He made me take a quiz. I love quizzes, though, so it wasn't that.
I knew you
for
did.
me.
That's why I wanted to do it.
I love it. He's like, you want to take an assessment? Yes. Yesterday.
Anyway, my intro ended with all around sweetheart. That's what I was waiting on you to
Oh my gosh. You're like, when's she going to do it?
I thought it would be funny.
Next
okay,
time.
so there's a company called Positive Intelligence, and they've got a lot of different resources, and I am a monthly subscriber, and they have a Saboteur Assessment. And a lot of people don't realize, going from childhood up to their current situation, that there are thoughts that sabotage them. There's behaviors that sabotage people. And a lot of times this assessment really does show them what's sabotaging them. And then we're going to do something fun, Kristin, about how we can combat these thoughts. What did you think about the assessment first? What ran through your mind?
It was one of the simpler ones I've taken, actually. It was quick. It was to the point. As always, they put the same question reworded 3 different times throughout it to make sure that you're answering accurately, or I guess that it actually does line up with how you feel. You can't really trick surveys too much. I mean, so this one, I thought it was pretty straightforward, Ron.
Well, good. I give this in executive coaching. I've taken it multiple times hoping to improve, but apparently not. The last time,
he's trying to trick the system.
The last time Kristin and I took an assessment, somehow I got out of sharing my score, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get out of it this time. So we'll get us started with, I don't know, what are the 10 saboteurs, Kristin?
Okay. All right, I'm scrolling through my results here. So do you want me to go into? I can break it down from top to bottom here.
But don't give a score yet. Just what
I
are
won't.
they?
No, I'll
What
leave
are
it.
they?
Okay, so I'll do it in random so people don't know. We've got the stickler, the victim, the avoider, restless, pleaser, hyper-rational, hyperachiever, controller, and hyper-vigilant. There you go.
Yeah. And a quick funny story. I've given this to numerous people, but, I had someone that pretty much scored straight 10s. And in this particular assessment.
How do you do that? I'm really curious how you score 10s on every single.
There has to be a lot of childhood trauma. And,
man. Woo.
Yeah, there's some issues. But the funny part is when I always do a second one mid-coaching. Now, I don't always use this assessment. Our coaching, this is a shameless plug, it's geared toward the need. So, there's not a formula. We have a blueprint, but somebody else might say they don't have a social network. They might need to take the wheel of life, and we might take another one at some point, Kristin. But this one is when I do recognize from childhood there's been some trauma, some things like that. And sometimes I have people tell me, I've applied for a promotion 15 times and never got it.
My
that
gosh.
tells me, let's take the Saboteur Assessment and see what's going on.
Sheesh.
And I
Yeah.
found it to be pretty accurate and pretty interesting. But you name those names. The key to this, if anyone does want to take it, is that you want to score pretty low. So I had someone who scored like 9s and 10s. They thought they aced it, but that's another story.
Oh, yeah. No, this is quite I actually didn't know. I just took it and I said, all right, we'll talk about it live on the podcast. Okay. So the lower, the better. It's funny when I actually read those, I reverse read those from my lowest scoring to my highest scoring, just so you guys know. So it's funny when we're saying stickler and things like that. That is what I am least like.
Yeah. So
as
Kristin,
Ron's probably noticed.
let's have some fun and let's go through. Let's do your top. Well, let's do your top first. What's
My
the
top,
highest
okay.
score?
I have hyper vigilant, and that's a 7.
A hyper vigilant person. Now, I want to give you
Yes.
some characteristics, and you tell me what you think
Yeah.
applies to you, okay? Because with any assessment, especially one that takes 10 to 15 minutes, there's always going to be openings and inconsistencies, things that don't apply. But here's a few
Right.
characteristics. I'll tell you what, let's have fun. Give me a 1 to 10 on these characteristics. Let's
Okay.
do that. Always anxious with chronic doubts about self and others.
That one, see, I really feel like I scored high in this because more of the danger, not necessarily personal doubts.
Okay,
So pretty
Kristin,
confident.
you did the same thing as me. I'm higher than you on this because when you have a law enforcement background, come on, you're going to be vigilant. Like sometimes I get
Yeah.
frustrated. I have to sit with my back, like I have to sit facing a door in a restaurant, and
So does my husband.
I do an assessment when I walk in.
Mhm.
Some
Movie
of it
theaters, everything.
I do, and I try to chill on it. So I give myself a pass on hypervigilant. But let's go ahead. Well, I'll
Was
tell you
that your
what.
top as well?
Yeah, that's my top. Higher than you,
Okay.
by the way. Mine's a 7.
Yeah, I think that's what I have, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're both 7s.
Okay.
Yeah, Ron's not getting out of giving scores this time.
She's going to press me.
He's like, yeah, so I'm a little higher. No,
Yeah.
we're going straight numbers, Ron.
Well, I'm a ninja.
No,
so
I mean, it makes sense. And you know what's interesting? Even though I'm married to a police officer, I was like this. I'm wired this way. I'm wired to be sensitive to danger signals.
you're never afraid to address gender issues. So do you think, I mean, it's a 2-part question. Do you think women are more hypervigilant than men?
No, I don't. I think a lot are out to lunch. Quite frankly, I've been in scenarios where I'm watching and I was at the park with my kids and this man in tiny little bike shorts rode up and he had a necklace on that had a cross on it. He was wearing no shirt. Literally all he was wearing was tiny little, almost like spandex shorts. And he got really close to our kids. And I was the only one, and he looked like he was going to do either flash or grab or something. I was the only one that even noticed and got nervous. And I ended up, packing up the kids, and we acted like my husband was coming. I was like, oh, let's go. He's right there. That guy later was arrested for flashing children at that park. My girlfriends that were with me, one of them just said, oh, I just noticed the cross necklace he was wearing. Literally, like out to lunch. So no, I actually do not feel that women are aware as often as they should be.
Wow. What a story. Hold on a minute. I got to tell my assistant something. Get rid of those bike shorts. Okay.
Oh my gosh, little banana hammocks. I mean, it was not good.
By the way, I told you wrong. Hypervigilant, I was 6 because I've been working on, chilling out.
Oh, you're a 6. So I have you beat there.
I think I probably lied. But anyway, all right, I'm going to give you my highest. And
Yeah.
I want to see if you can guess it before. You've known me quite a while now. I want to see if you can
Yeah.
guess what you think my highest was.
I'm going to say hyperachiever.
Ugh. You know me so
No?
well. Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yes.
So what'd you get there?
Of course. 10.5. I'm kidding. Guys, I promote, when we say hyper, I have people come back at me with this like, you're coaching me and you're telling me, you know, I got to believe, I got to be consistent, I got to be positive and all that. But when you put the word hyper in there, what happens is, and I've suffered from this, is you attach your self-worth to it. And I'm seriously working, and I was hoping that would be a little bit lower, Kristin, because I try to be very honest on this.
Yeah.
But it's been the same.
Wait, what is your score?
7.
Oh, it is a 7. Okay.
Yeah. It might have been 8 the very first time I took it. But
yeah.
So a hyperachiever, here's some characteristics of it. It's competitive. Imagine that. Image and status, conscious. And I try to say that it's not, but yet down deep, I do think that I like to keep a certain image. And let me put it this way. My social media posts, I broke my glasses. I've got these old glasses. They're huge. And I woke up, my hair sticking up. I put those glasses on. You probably couldn't have paid me to do a social media post with that look. So there has to be an element of that.
Sure.
Good at covering up insecurities and showing a positive image. I think I have some of that, but I'm gonna share this. Kristin, I'm pretty confident, but age has a way of balancing things. In other words, I'm competing in a field where 30s and 40 somethings are thriving, and I'm not an idiot. I know that if somebody's scrolling through and you got some good looking 40-year-old, then you got me, they're probably going to want to hear what that guy has to say. So I feel like sometimes I have to work extra hard, stay on my game, all this stuff to make up for that. So I have found myself becoming a little more insecure with age, if that makes sense. Thoughts?
It does. Oh, well, I feel the same way because I'm a social media political influencer. And I was just at a turning point of it. I'm talking these girls that are doing it are 20 years younger than me on average. I mean, there were gals my age there in mid 40s, right? But there are a lot that are in their 20s. And so there's not only the need to just be on top of my game and be well-read and well-versed, but you think, my gosh, they don't even have wrinkles. They don't have crow's feet, right? They haven't had kids. So there's a lot of pressure there that I was putting on myself somewhat unnecessarily, but it's there. It's real. It's a little insecurity that will rear its ugly head at times. And it's just recent, Ron, that I've started to feel that.
Let me ask you another question. My previous question was supposed to be 2-part, but you answered. I was going to say the men and women thing, and then just as public, just stop paying attention, which I think we all know that cell phones have taken over vigilance. But let's stick with this one on hyperachiever. I want your opinion. Do you think, let's say that you worked at the bank full-time again, and I worked for the government full-time. Do you not think social media in and of itself and virtual learning or virtual meetings, all this stuff, do you not think that's enhanced the hyperachiever image part of it?
Yeah, I would say it has, because it's at your fingertips more readily than it was before when you had to go seek that in person.
And you didn't see everyone else every minute.
Right, exactly.
You
and
didn't
so in
have
your
to compare.
feed, yeah, you're constantly seeing. Yeah, it was definitely different. When you did your sizing up, it was at in-person meetings, right?
Exactly.
Or when the quarterly results came out and all you're seeing is names and you're like, oh, they're performing, So yeah, it was a lot less often. That is for dang sure.
Another part of this can be self-promoting. I'm sure that I've been guilty of that. I will tell you, one time I felt I was judged, and you can give me your honest opinion on this, but this was the early days of the academy. And because we were U.S. probation, we were not FBI or we were not DEA, the ones that people had heard of mostly. And it might have caused us to work harder. I don't know. But give me your opinion on this. I had some students go, how do you get picked to be an instructor? Well, I said, I was on the United States karate team. This person was runner-up Golden Gloves boxer. This person has taught defensive tactics for 20 years. This person was a collegiate swimmer and has also taught. What I was doing was showing that we have the best of the best as instructors, and we didn't just hire anybody. So to me, I'm bragging on the group. I did put me first, not out of I'm the best. I put myself first because that's the way I was thinking. Like, well, I did it. Anyway, there was a guy, I think he was a little jealous of me. He was like, Ron told him he was on the U.S. karate team. He did it like we're all eating, and he did it like he's trying to be funny, but I knew he really meant it. It was passive aggressive. Mm-hmm. And anyway.
Yeah. So I've even experienced that when I've talked about being a competitive gymnast, right? Because the thing is, Ron, is that you and I, we did competitive sports, and not just a competitive sport. We're talking some of the most physically grueling, mentally grueling sports out there. And I have found even when this happened, oh my gosh, within the last couple months, where I was being interviewed by somebody, and someone was on the panel that I had been on a panel with previously. And I brought up part of my wiring and my ability to achieve on an independent level. And I tied it back to being a gymnast, a competitive gymnast. He's like, oh, she loves to talk about that. And that irritated me because I'm like, why shouldn't I? That shaped me. Do you know how many hours of practice I put into that? And so I feel like, at that point, it's not like he's jealous of me, but I feel like when someone else is able to talk about an achievement, maybe that someone else doesn't have, that can be irritating for them because that is their they feel like lack thereof personally.
We apologize. Thank you for letting Kristin and I vent, everyone.
I know. I actually didn't even tell my husband that irritated me. I usually just am like, oh, whatever, that's their problem.
So if you happen to be a hyperachiever, here's your thoughts. Now gauge yourself if you're driving, listening to us. Here's some thoughts that run through your mind. Chris and I are going to do something fun here in a few minutes. These are the thoughts you get. I must be the best at what I do. If I can't be outstanding, I won't bother. I must be efficient and effective. Emotions get in the way of performance. And by the way, we've talked about horrible bosses and how they're not sensitive to emotions from the staff, and that aligns. Focus on thinking and action. And I can be anything I want to be. You get those thoughts, which can be good. You are worthy as long as you're successful and others think well of you. And then your feelings are, I don't like dwelling in feelings for too long. They distract from achieving my goals. Sometimes I feel empty and depressed inside, but don't linger there. It's important for me to feel successful, so forth. And Kristin, I dealt with this a lot. This is before I was coaching, but I had a guy come to me from another agency asking me for tips. He liked me a lot. And he'd never gotten promoted. And he was so macho that it was sickening. And he loved to make statements like, a guy crying, really? Or,
So he possibly was a toxic masculinity situation.
Oh, yeah, there is time. By the way, we're so turned off.
That sounds like legit.
Don't think there's not toxic masculinity.
Yeah, there are some.
It exists.
Yeah. I was on a podcast with one the other day. Oh, made me want to throw up. So anyways, yes,
but Kristin, I used to use humor to my advantage. So he says, can you help me? And you're going to love it. I still can't believe I did it. I'm talking about a guy. I can't say too much because he's literally on YouTube for another reason. I'm not going to say too much.
Okay.
He said, can you help me? I said, I'm sure I can. But I said, let's start off with a hug. And I reached my arms out. Kristin, if you could have seen his face. And I just busted out laughing.
Did he trip going backwards?
No, but I busted I busted him. I go, that's your problem, doofus.
Yeah.
You are so into your masculinity. You're not in touch with anything else. You don't understand other people. And I said, we got a lot of work to do. So anyway, but the funny part is as I talked with him and he said, yeah, I'm going to work on it. And we talked again. Instead of telling me progress, he goes, well, I can't hug another guy. I had a guy who was trying to tell me about his marriage, and I said, dude, what's wrong with you? You're not listening. You're just not. So anyway.
That's really interesting. Yeah. I think it's good that we did touch on the fact that toxic masculinity does exist. It's just not blanket like they like to do. But
what's number 2, Kristin?
What's my number 2?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think? I'm going to have you. Oh, did you already look? I know I sent you my results.
Yeah,
Do
but
you
I have
remember what
not
it
looked
was?
at your results. So,
Okay. Take a guess.
okay, you and I are going to be different on this part because I'm going to go with you on either hyper rational or we've already said hyper vigilant.
Yeah.
You're a hyperachiever as well, but I didn't want to do the same as me.
And
But
that's not my number 2. I'll just give you that clue.
okay, controller.
It is. Yeah. And you know what's interesting? So I do have I'm an anxious individual. And I find that when I feel anxious is when I don't have control of a scenario. And which is what all the time, right? Because it's like you can't control everything. You can do your best. But yeah, that is my number 2. I scored, oh gosh, let me click back out of it. I think I scored a 6 in controller.
And I'm a 5. I did see a little bit of
You're
that.
5?
Kristin and I were preparing for Jeff Sausch, Naked and Afraid. And of course, I've been a fan. So I put together show notes. Well, I get a text from Kristin goes, I put together show notes. And I'm like, what's going on here? So
I actually felt bad about that.
So then we had to go with the 2, which were very similar. We both used some AI stuff. But I had been watching Naked and Afraid for so many years. Of course, I feel confident that I can put it, but I really am a collaborator. I was certainly going to send them to Kristin to let her look it over. Yeah. But I don't think she trusted me. So that is that's a characteristic of control.
No, I'm so glad you brought that up because I actually felt really bad about that.
You did?
So, yes,
Good.
I did ask Dave because he totally I was cooking dinner and I had you on speaker when we were prepping. And he was walking in and out and he was like, I agree with Ron. And so I was like, I had to take a step back for a minute. And I was like, okay, this is no offense to Jeff. I'm just not a Naked and Afraid person. And so I didn't know who he was until you were like, I'd love to have him on the show. And so for me to take the reins when that's your passion project, that was unfair of me. And that was that controller that was coming out of me. And I really did feel like that wasn't cool, Kristin. Like and I told Dave and he was like, yeah.
That's interesting.
So I should have brought it up to you.
No, you did. You texted me again and said, this is your baby. Do it, Or
okay,
I sent you some. I think you looked them over. But anyway, tell Dave, thanks for the protection. Now, Kristin.
It's true, though. It's like my knee jerk is to want to control a situation.
Well, and you and I didn't mention a part, but my part of hypervigilance is also time. Kristin knows this. I do not think I was this way when I was a kid. I don't remember. But for me, especially, I worked court all the time and I had something, it's either in my book or my leadership course. This really happened to me, Kristin. If I've told it, forgive me if you're one of our faithful followers. I am sitting at my desk. Now, I just got promoted. I'm a United States probation officer, which in that world is the ultimate promotion. And I'm sitting at my desk. I use the old-fashioned calendar. And I was friends. I'm sure I've told this once. I was pretty friendly with the judge's secretary. So I get a call at my desk phone, and there's a phone in the courtroom, if you have an emergency. Mm-hmm. And she goes, "Where are you?" She's whispering. So she and I actually had a funny sense of humor. And I said, "At my desk, where are you?" I whisper back. She goes, "We're waiting on you." Kristin, I had to
no.
Swear to God. I start screaming. I said, "Be right there." I started, I looked and I hadn't put it in my calendar. The order was laying there. I had federal court. Now, fortunately, it's downstairs. There was no elevator. If you want to talk about funny, number one, I'm grabbing the file, throwing on my coat. You had to have a coat and tie in federal court.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm throwing that coat on. I get it. And there ain't no elevator. I'm running those steps.
Oh, my gosh.
I
have not heard this story.
Okay, so I sprint these steps to get down there. Then I get the door and I realize I'm going to walk in heaving. So
yeah, compose yourself.
I step back and I'm like, I'm breathing in through my nose. I do about 3 of those and I have to walk in. And you want to talk about running the gauntlet, the walk of shame.
Yeah.
So I had to walk in front of the pews and everything, go over to, and U.S. probation, we have our own table. So you got the U.S. attorney, you got defense attorney, then we have our own table to the side. So I had to go with my table. And fortunately, Judge Faber, who's a phenomenal human being, he was a very nice guy. And he said, thank you for joining us, Mr. Ward. And then we go on with the hearing. And afterwards, I go back in chambers and I said, Judge, I greatly apologize. And he said, if that's the worst you ever do, Ward, we're gonna be okay. So thank goodness. But I'm telling you, there were some judges who would have reprimanded me. I'm not kidding. So it's the way they run the court. But that put me on the course of developing systems. I said, this cannot happen again. Now, we didn't have iPhones. God knows I would have set alarms for my hearings. And, but yes, and I'm still that way with Kristin. I like to have a time that we record. I like to have a time. And you move from working court to running an academy. We had to be there 15 minutes early to set up. So for me, if you're 5 minutes early, you're probably 10 minutes late. And I know that's not right. You see what I'm saying? But that's my mind, my brain.
Right. I am curious about, so in that scenario, did you end up feeling the need to use the restroom immediately? Like, did you get the runs?
No, it was too fast. It was too fast.
That's a really interesting, like something like that would have, because a lot of people operate like the anxious part of me, like your stomach is your second brain.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's like that stress goes right to your digestive system, generally speaking, for someone that's wired like me. So that would have been an immediate bathroom situation. And that sounds like I can almost like sweat just feeling what you must have felt in that scenario.
I told you the only time I've ever experienced that. Well, number one, I did a super long run, but that's more of a physiological response.
Yeah.
But was before a couple of really big karate tournaments, like when I was fighting for the East Coast karate. And, I went in, I didn't tell anybody. I went in and, went to the restroom before I fought. That happened maybe twice, but other than that, all right. So is it your turn or mine? No, it's my number
Yours.
two. My number two. Speaking of number two.
I was like, is he gonna leave that one on the table, or we
just want to let you know this is not a normal leadership podcast.
Oh my gosh, what's your number two, Ron?
By the way, I did have someone. I was at Myrtle Beach last week, and we're talking about what we do and stuff. I said, hey, I have a podcast. I really said, do you ever watch Naked and Afraid? I thought,
lead with that.
So anyway, I had someone go, I got to be honest with you. I find leadership a little bit boring. I said, I'm your guy. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's the same thing. I've had a dentist be like, what do you do? As they're working on you. And I'm like, oh, I have a leadership podcast. And they're like, oh, I just hate business stuff.
Yeah.
So I feel like we have to come up with a different, we can leave the word leadership out of it, Ron.
Well, this
I have a podcast.
From the very beginning, though, we did say where leadership meets entertainment.
Exactly. I know. I always follow up with that too, but I feel like once they hear that, sometimes some people are not wired to constant improvement, right? Like, and that's where it's like we need to help them out, help them realize that it's not all, that this is a positive thing to learn and grow.
No, it is, but have a little fun. Yeah. I want you to pick my number two, but I want you to think carefully when you do. Think carefully. There would be one that aligns kind of with this conversation. I think it aligns with the conversation a little bit. Think about when I was retiring, some things I went through.
Yes. Let me see. Restless.
Bingo.
Really? Okay.
I used to be young and the restless, but now I'm just old. But anyway.
So what was your score in Restless?
Gosh, why do you have to be specific?
Come on.
It was a 7.
Okay.
Out of 10.
All right.
All right. So do you have it pulled up, or you want me to read the characteristics?
Oh, I've got it right here.
Read the characteristics of that, and then I'll kind of weigh in.
Right, let's see. Ooh, if it lets me. There we go. Easily distracted and
what were we talking about?
Scattered. Well, I got a 5 on this. I'm actually surprised I didn't score higher.
I probably lied. I should be an 8 now that I'm reading. Keep going.
Stays busy juggling many different tasks and plans.
Does that define me, Kristin? Does it?
Oh, Yeah, like to a T.
Every time I
Seeks
talk.
excitement. See, being restless, I think, I actually find I'm so surprised I'm not more than a 5 on this, because I constantly, like, if I have a slow week, I almost start feeling like, what am I doing? What am I achieving? What have I achieved this week? Right. And it's like, it drives me crazy. So I would say even more so for you. Seeks excitement and variety, not comfort
And
or
that's just my
safety.
dating life.
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding,
Bounces,
folks.
escapes from unpleasant feelings very quickly. I see that. Well,
I
it says
bounce.
escapes here as if it's a negative.
Well, but I do bounce back
Um,
quickly.
I do too. You just kind of, otherwise, what's going to live rent free? Overused strengths, high
Just-
energy and vitality.
Kristen, just for the sake of time, why don't we
Yeah.
do the thoughts? I've found that in my coaching,
Okay.
by
You
the
like
way.
the thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what people battle with.
I like
So,
this. Okay. So the thoughts that come along with this is, this isn't fulfilling. The next thing has got to be more exciting. These negative feelings suck. I must shift my attention to something exciting. And why can't anyone keep up with me?
bingo.
Mm,
I'm not saying it's super strong. I've been able to balance things, but
yeah.
those are the thoughts. I combat these thoughts, but those, I don't know about why can't anyone keep up with me, unless you're talking about something I'm very specialized in. Like if, when we talk about martial arts, and I love the fact that your son's in it,
Yeah.
but that's something that I put so much into that I feel like nobody, if we interviewed Tito Ortiz maybe, but I feel superior in that regard just because of my vast experience. Now,
Right.
that to me is not bad because I've poured so much effort. But if you think you're better than everyone in general, that's a
Yeah.
whole different story. So that one,
Right.
why can't, Kristen knows me, like I'm hard on myself even with this podcast, and I take
Oh, yeah.
criticism or constructive feedback. So I'm not a jerk. And I did that when I was a leader. I would listen to other perspectives, but I do deal with some of this and I have to combat it. Especially the next thing's got to be more exciting. That's such me. And I must shift my attention to something more. I get bored quickly with things.
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's kind of, and the feelings, if you wouldn't mind, Kristen, read those.
Yeah.
for us.
Yeah. Sorry. Let me go back into it. What's interesting is it makes me think about where I noticed my restlessness is when I was at SAS, so the Student Action Summit with TPU.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the first time I was at an event, not as a speaker, not as a presenter. I'm not running a booth. I'm literally just there participating, and they want you to capture it and post it on social, yada, yada. I felt very uncomfortable not having a purpose. And so it really bothered me being there without you need to be here at 3:00 or you need to be doing this, right? It was the first time for me that, so, and I don't know if that's a restlessness.
I do think it's
Kinda
part. I think
seems that way.
I think it intertwines with the overachiever and restlessness. But Kristen, in coaching, and I'm pretty honest in my strengths and weaknesses when I'm coaching someone, but in life, we all need to have moments where like that, where you're just absorbing, you're learning, but see, you have that alpha personality, that assertive personality. So you should have grabbed the microphone and said, I didn't come to take part. I came to take over.
I know, right? Well, what's funny? I aligned myself. I met so many great people. So I guess it allowed me to meet and make great connections. But for the next event in Phoenix in December, I already have this booth that wants me to interview people there.
Can
I couldn't help myself.
You won't be offended if I analyze your
No,
response.
do it. I love it.
So your response when we make excuse to say, you said, I didn't go hear any speakers. I worked the crowd.
Yeah.
And that's fine because you probably needed that. We need those connections. I always say your network is your net worth, right? But the fact that you had to articulate that means that it was bothering you on some level. Because is that really relevant to anything? Like, unless I said, hey, did you hear so-and-so speak? Then you would say no. And I do the same thing, Kristen. And what I try to help people do in coaching, and I'm working on myself, this is so ironic. I did not even think about this podcast. If you look at my story right now, it is a picture of this beautiful scenic image on my computer screen. And when I worked out early this morning, I turned on my computer and it was still dark in my studio. And Kristin, I got lost for a minute just in a virtual picture. And I was looking at detail.
Yeah.
And I thought this would make a great post. And I've done that before. I watched the one on my TV. I've got a big TV and I watched the background. And so my post is about, if you can't get out today, maybe just take look at some virtual places, beautiful places in the world, do some deep breathing. But when we give this assessment, these scores, what I do is I give an initial assessment. Halfway through the coaching, I send them a status report, is what I call it.
Okay.
And I ask them to take it again because it doesn't take long. And what we're looking for, I'm not expecting somebody to go from an 8 to a 2. But we are looking for the areas that's bothering them. And guys, do not leave. We're only going to go over a couple more. Then I'm going to give you something that will change your life. It's changed so many people in coaching. Kristin's going to do it with me. And so you don't want to miss out. So, but yeah, you nailed me. That was my number 2. Let's do one more, Kristin. And then I'm going to try to help people learn to combat these thoughts and things so your number 3, I was thinking you already told me.
Well,
hypervigilant. Give me one second. Hyperachiever. Did we do that yet?
That is it. We did that though because it's your number 1, right?
All right. Then let me go over to.
So that is my number.
We did Stickler, or controller and Stickler are similar. Were your scores?
Yeah, I'm a controller. I'm not a stickler.
Okay.
Like that was my least.
Okay. Oh, Stickler. I'm sorry. I got mixed up. Stickler is more of those people who have to have everything. You and I both said we're naturally unorganized a little bit.
Yeah. No, couldn't be further from it.
I'm gonna have to go with then maybe. You just said you're restless. Hyper-rational?
Yes, that is my next one.
And you know why?
And I scored a 5.
You know why I use that? Hypochondriac. Normally, when we're coaching, if it's 5 or less, I usually don't cover it very much.
Okay.
I'm more focused. But let's look at a few things if people are listening here that, well, I hope they're listening.
You like what? You like the overused strengths or the thoughts?
I like the characteristics, then I like the thoughts. Now, if there's more time, don't get me wrong, it's all good stuff. Characteristics are intensive and active minds, sometimes coming across as intellectually arrogant or secretive. I definitely have had people tell me about managers who operate with this.
Yeah.
Private, do not let many people into their deeper feelings. Mostly show feelings through passion ideas. Prefer to just watch the craziness around them and analyze from a distance.
That is me. I love that.
Yeah, but remember when I don't think this is totally you. Remember when you stepped up in the airplane story?
That is true.
So
if my life is in danger, I'm not just going to put my feet up.
I think you like to analyze people, but this is really craziness. Lose track of time to intense concentrate. That's why you're late on the podcast. You're concentrating.
I've been better. I'm working on it. Oh my gosh. I've been really, you know what? I literally think it's like a disease, like a time disease. I've had it like my whole I'm really, really working on, now that I don't work a 9 to 5, it's actually a lot easier for me to, I'm like on time to everything now, relatively. Sometimes the podcast, I'm a few minutes, but yeah, no, I feel like it's been a disease, Ron. I don't know. I'd like to analyze that a little deeper on a different podcast. Episode. Not a different podcast, a different episode.
I thought she was dissing me. I want to analyze it so someone knows what they're doing.
No, different episode.
Okay, thoughts. This is the rational mind is where it's at. In other words, people in this particular category of being hyper rational, they're not real in touch with their feelings, and they literally just don't like people to be emotional at all, which, you know, there has to be a little emotion in things. Feelings are distracting and irrelevant. Many people are so irrational and sloppy in their thinking. Needs and emotions of others distract me from projects. These are the people given assignment. It's the old, I used to call leaders in the old days, or not old days, like 80s and 90s, it was command and control. That's how my dad worked his whole life. The boss told you what to do and you did it.
Yeah.
And if you weren't getting it right, they would tell you. And now people want to be coached. They want to be valued. All of these things come into play. They want empathy. So I get that, but you're really not that high. But anyway, you need to shut
Yeah.
out intrusion and so forth. Let's talk quickly about the thoughts, and then we will. Well, I covered most of them. I need to shut out
Yeah.
intrusions. What I value most is knowledge, understanding, and insight. And by the way, those people are the people who sometimes intellectually arrogant, that nobody likes them and they can't figure out why. And that is the reason. The people that I
Yeah.
dealt with that thought they were better than me to be academy director, they really were smart, but
Yeah.
no one liked them or trusted them. And they couldn't make a
Yes.
nexus between the two and understand that that's what's under your intelligence is undermining you because of the way you
Right.
present it.
I see that a lot where people have that, they have an extremely high IQ, but their EQ is low.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're so smart on paper, right? Like you're so sharp.
Right.
But, and I see this even in like students that I teach, right? It's like, why don't others, they'll present, why don't others want to talk to me or interact with me? Well, when you have and you present with this high EQ, like this holier than thou, like I'm smarter than everybody in the room and things like that, you are going to naturally push away a lot of people. And it's wild that they don't realize that. Ron, what was your very lowest score?
I knew you would ask me
Yeah, what
that
was the
right when I
topic?
clicked off. The lowest for me absolutely is victim. I
Oh,
never
yeah.
make myself a victim. I can't stand victimization. It's
Yeah.
one of the things I talk to people. I've been talking for my whole life on that. Then avoider. I don't avoid things. I get it over with. I hit
Mm-hmm.
it. Hyper
Yeah.
rational. For a guy, and this is in no way boastful, but I I do feel like I have a sensitive side, empathetic side. Like I was always in law enforcement, but I play guitar. I love to go like Broadway and play. So
Yeah.
I've always had this other side to
You
me
have an
that's
artistic streak
some
to you.
people get to see, some people don't. But
Right.
and in the government, you're put in a box. And I felt
Mm.
like, when I retired, that I was kind of let out of the box. So I'm doing a lot of creative stuff,
Yeah.
maybe too much. But anyway,
Oh my
what was your
goodness.
lowest?
My lowest is Stickler. Imagine that. And I think it's funny. All right. Because I have,
Punctual. Okay, go ahead.
yeah, punctual, perfectionist. You know what? I have to just tell, I know we're about to close out here, but it's really interesting because one of my good friends, I'm actually hanging out with her on Friday. We were colleagues together at the bank. And I always would see she's definitely this person. And I would always see her name at the top of the leaderboards and everything we were doing. When we had manager meetings, she was like the pet project, right? Like they were always having her do all these extra things. And it turned a lot of us off, like a lot of people that were her counterpart. And I remember asking my boss one day, I was like, what's the big deal with so-and-so? Like, what's the deal? And he was like, she's extremely polished and she's a perfectionist, right? So anyhow, I had the opportunity to have some one-on-one time with her at a meeting. And I was like, I actually really like her. And we have been dear friends ever since, but we couldn't be more different. Like we are so different. And this, I bet if she took it, this is her number one.
Chris,
So
go ahead.
it's wild. No, I'm just saying it is wild that the two of us are good friends because we're so different.
In coaching, that is unique. In coaching, the victim, like people with low self-esteem, sometimes they have been victimized as a child, and it shows up in their adulthood and they don't realize it. It even shows up in the workplace. I don't think my boss likes me, and that can come from even parenting. But the second most popular that I deal with is the person you described, and I don't mean that she's extreme, but I'm saying the stickler. A lot of times they were raised in a harsh environment, or maybe I had one person's dad was like a drill sergeant and literally dropped pennies on his bed. It had to be folded under and tight. And so that's how they grew up. And again, it runs straight into adulthood. So guess what? They expect everyone else to be prim and proper. And so it is amazing to me through the coaching space how much our childhood still influences us.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I see it often.
All right, folks.
Yeah. This was good. I love this, Ron.
We need
more
to take
quizzes.
away. We need to take away.
I'll leave that up to you.
Please, if you're still listening, I want you to think about trying something. If you don't do the work, I tell everyone this, it won't work. So, Kristin, I want you to look back and look at your highest. And what we're going to do, neuroscience has proved if you can use imagery, it improves your ability to recognize negative thoughts or positive thoughts for that matter, and also to cast them out. You know, we talked about there's a Bible scripture, cast out evil imaginations. So we know that we have the ability through mindfulness, and mindfulness is this kind of word that is mystical, but all you're doing is you're being mindful. You recognize this is a damaging thought. This is a trespasser in my brain. And when you begin to see it, that you have a trespasser and they're going to come in and try to damage your property, then you start to do battle. But if we just go through normal life, we can be upset about things and we don't even realize that we opened the door, the welcome sign, we hung it so these negative thoughts could come in. So that's something I work really diligently with people. So what I want to do, Kristin, is an image. So what was your highest? And I'm going to explain to you what the image is going to represent.
Yeah, highest is hypervigilant.
Okay, so hypervigilant, and again, 7's not that high, but it's a little too high. So let's say we want to get it down to a 6 or a 5. I want you to think of a villain or a name that would just piss you off or frustrate you that you don't trust. It's a name. Do not use Dave or something. I'm kidding.
No, he's amazing.
I'm kidding.
I'm going to use a really, let's just say a non-impactful leader that I had once.
Okay. Can you give
Sylvia.
Sylvia. Okay. Now, here's the only way this will work when I say do the work. Let's say
she was impactful, but not in a positive way.
And so hypervigilant, right? Is that, what's the one?
Yes.
Is that the one?
No. Yes. That's my number one.
Okay. So the characteristics, always anxious, chronic doubts about self and others, a sensitivity to danger signals, constant. So let's just use an example. Let's say that you go out, you've watched a TV show, you listen to true crime, and all of a sudden there's got to be a serial killer in the mall. You're walking around, and I don't mean you specifically, but you really are, you feel like somebody's going to commit a crime or they're going to do something again. I'm not safe here. So most of the time, people go through their whole life, they're never involved in a violent crime. They're never the victim of a violent crime. Yet you would not believe how many, especially females, tell me they have this fear of getting sexually assaulted. They have this fear of all this stuff happening. So we want to rationalize that a little bit. So we put a name on it. So you're out in regular public and all of a sudden you start feeling concerned, alarmed. You can say, that's Sylvia trying to harass me. And you know Sylvia represents usually irrational thoughts. It's okay to be safe. We know that. But Kristin, neither one of us, now outside of me being a police officer, you've probably not been attacked in a, you had one bank robbery, I know, but I'm saying you haven't been attacked. So many times, or we think someone's going to break in our house when it's never happened before. I deal with people that have all these irrational thoughts. And I had one person told me, I said, what's your biggest thought? I mean, your biggest fear? They said, Elon Musk. I'm not joking. So we had to walk through that. Well, they believed that he was developing AI and AI was going to take over the world and all that. Didn't know that he's actually warned people about AI. But the point is, folks, listen to me. If you're dealing with fears, you're not sleeping, you've got these irrational thoughts that have never really come to pass. And sometimes even if they're somewhat rational, you need to put a name on it. You need to recognize it. And Sylvia's trespassing in your world. I've had people name from everything from characters, villains on, the Batman's, Superman, and all of that stuff. So I had one person name it the Joker just because his favorite villain, the Penguin. So I want you to start thinking about, I'm talking to the audience here, think about thoughts that torment you, that you're not good enough. Maybe you've been a victim and you come up with a name and you literally imagine, I want you to put a hideous face on Sylvia or whatever the name is. And she wants to come in and harm your stuff. She wants to rob you, take your stuff away and humiliate you, whatever it is. You got to have some anger toward Sylvia, or the name that you give. And as you begin to do that, Kristin, I have person after person telling me, oh my God, I got somebody right now. They put in 2 different names and they said, this is helping me so much. I'm able to get this person. And I tell them, I said, you may not keep them from the door, but you don't have to invite them in to sit on the couch with you.
Yeah.
So I don't look for extreme changes, but imagery works. And our problem is we don't put an image on it.
I'm extremely visual. You know what's interesting? Usually I just go, not today, Satan, in my head.
That's important. That really is important.
Yeah, because I do have, sometimes like you think in a safety and security standpoint, like I'll think of like, visions of grandeur, right? So you're foreseeing what could happen, and then you take precautions to avoid that potential. And I think, that's just my wiring to just always think about the possibility and then try to avoid it at all costs. But so some people, it might work well to say, not today, Sylvia, right? Instead of Satan. I'll probably stick with Satan because I actually haven't thought of her in like 20 years. But I think that's extremely impactful.
If you're saying Satan, though, it means you're recognizing the thought. You see what I'm saying? Most people don't recognize the thought. Now, I want to flip this as we leave. This works for success. You put a name on something that you want, those thoughts you want to hang on to, or at least you have an image. You see yourself being successful. You see yourself being happy. You see yourself developing things. Imagery works in a positive way, a little differently. But I want to remind people of that as well, that not only will saboteurs come in and try to, sabotage you, but you cast them out, then you replace it with successful thoughts. I am going to do something great today. I'm going to do something important. So there we go.
Do you name your successful thoughts also?
I name them Kristin. I want to be like Kristin.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious. I had 2 good Jason bosses. I mean, I could just name it Jason.
Let me clarify something, though. I do like that. Jason would work. I don't put a name on success thoughts. I put, it's a theme. Like, I'm going to do something great today and I can get this done. Or, I may have to get some help, but I'm going to finish this. Kristin knows a project. Oh my God. We're both working on major projects we will announce.
Yeah. I didn't know if you wanted to go into it. We'll do it next.
No, I don't want to go into, or at least I don't want to go into mine. And this is, we're long in the
same
podcast.
Here. We'll wait.
But my point is, starts with that imagination, and then you got to start developing, and your passion has to overcome fear. You start to, and I tell people, if you'll just dream a little bit, fear a lot of times will subside naturally because you start to believe something. It's like, you go to martial arts. First time I sparred, I was nervous as heck, but after I developed, kept working skills, I look forward to sparring. So that's what happens. That. All right. Well, Kristin, this was interesting, off the beaten path a little bit. And I'm glad you're going to be on time from now on. And let me write the scripts when we get.
Oh, my gosh. Not everyone. Not everyone. I know we're still like, all right, we have a guest coming up for you guys, and he is a household name. So we're working out the recording date and time. We're not giving it to you yet.
Yeah, we told you.
We're fighting over the script right now.
We told you guys we're going to start doing guests, and we're going to get really interesting guests. Let's put it that way. Influential guests.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. This is awesome. I love this. I'm a peeping Tom of the mind. So I think this was wonderful. And thank you for putting it together.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Be the leader you're meant to be.
We'll see you next week.
The Dirty Side of Leadership podcast is brought to you by Forward Operations. If you'd like to book Ron or Kristin for speaking events, training, or executive coaching, visit forwardoperations.com. Be the leader you're meant to be.